And so with that, with the help of all that information, I'm going to now share my Bitcoin prophecy. I think we're going to be $21 million in 21 years. It's a very special time in the network, maybe the one time in the history of the network where you look out 21 years and you see 21 million. Specifically, I expect 21 million coins at a $21 million price in 21 years, and people ask, how's the network going to grow? It's going to be growing at 21% in 21 years. The volatility is going to be 21. This is all, the only number you need to remember is the number 21.
Billionaire Michael Saylor reveals how Bitcoin hits $21 million by 2046. You know, Michael Saylor isn't just predicting Bitcoin's future. He's literally mapping out a complete path to generational wealth. And it's more than just an investment thesis. It's a full-blown philosophy, a whole system of thinking designed to harness what he sees as the most powerful financial force of our lifetime. He has a complete framework for it. And today we're going to break it down piece by piece. And he starts with a bang. Saylor's core prophecy is that a single Bitcoin will be worth $21 million within 21 years. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. It's an audacious, almost unbelievable claim, and it sets the stage for his entire argument. And that number 21, it is absolutely deliberate. As you're about to see, it's the key that unlocks his entire model. In fact, according to Saylor, 21 is pretty much the only number you need to remember. He forecasts a 21% annual growth rate paired with 21% volatility, all compounding over 2 decades to get to that $21 million price. But look, this isn't just some numerology game. He argues his whole prediction is grounded in a massive seismic shift in power and capital that is happening right now. So where does all this incredible confidence come from? Saylor calls it the Great Adoption. It's this perfect storm of support from Wall Street, from Washington, and from global regulators, all aligning in Bitcoin's favor in a way that honestly was just unthinkable a few years back. I mean, remember when it was still dismissed as some fringe asset? First up, Wall Street. The institutional floodgates have just burst open. We're talking over $150 billion in new capital pouring into this asset. But really the story here isn't just the money, it's the huge cultural shift. Bitcoin has gone from being the so-called toxic asset that the financial elite just laughed at to a legitimate institutional one. And now it's backed by bullish research from the world's biggest banks. That is the institutional taming of a once wild asset. Next, there is the political embrace, which Saylor calls, just extraordinary. We're seeing a pro-Bitcoin administration with a stated national goal for America to become a Bitcoin superpower. That kind of language from the highest levels of government, backed by actual legislation moving through Congress, signals this massive political tailwind, basically giving air cover to the entire industry. And finally, the regulators. This is the crucial third leg of the stool. The SEC's approval of Bitcoin ETFs. I mean, that was a landmark moment, right? It opened the door for retirement funds, for mainstream investors. But just as important, the Fed and the OC have signaled to banks that it's safe to engage with Bitcoin, while new accounting rules have finally allowed corporations to hold it on their balance sheets without getting penalized. Basically, the major regulatory walls have just been torn down. So Saylor wraps all this up with one really powerful metaphor. He argues that with Wall Street's capital, Washington's political will, and the regulators' green light all coming together, the network has reached a state of criticality. It's like a nuclear reactor coming online. The chain reaction has started, and in his view, there's no off switch anymore. That fire is now self-sustaining. Okay, so with all that going on, how do you harness this power? Saylor breaks it down into a 3-part playbook, and it starts with the absolute foundation, your mindset. He says before you can act, before you can build anything, you have to think correctly about what Bitcoin is and what it represents. And it comes down to these 3 pillars: clarity, conviction, and courage. So clarity means seeing Bitcoin not as some stock to trade, but as a perfect form of capital. Think of it like digital property. Then there's conviction. That's the deep belief that it's just fundamentally engineered to grow faster than anything else, especially in a world where currencies are constantly being devalued. And finally, courage. That's the willingness to take what he calls intelligent monetary risk, to actually trade your weaker assets for the stronger one. And like he says, feed the fire. Okay, so once you've got the right mindset, we move on to part 2, getting the right tools. Because look, thinking correctly is great, but it's not enough. You have to actually structure your life and your assets to maximize this opportunity. A powerful mindset without the right tools, that's just a dream. And here his advice gets really modern. The three key tools are cooperation, capability, and corporation. Cooperation means getting your entire family on board for generational wealth. Corporation means using a legal entity for all its advantages in raising capital. But it's that second one, capability, powered by AI, that Saylor believes is an absolute game changer for the average person. Saylor argues that AI is the great equalizer. I mean, think about it. Just a few years ago, if you wanted to figure out complex strategies for trust or tax efficiency, you needed a whole team of expensive lawyers and months of work. Now, anyone can just ask an AI to devise a plan, get what he calls a 95% solution in minutes, and then you take that almost perfect plan to human experts just to finalize it. It's huge. It effectively democratizes the tools of sophisticated financial planning that used to be only for the super rich. All right, so you've got the mindset, you've got the tools. The final piece of the puzzle is the strategy, the different paths you can actually take to acquire Bitcoin and build wealth over these next 21 years. And this is where the stakes become just incredibly clear. Based on Saylor's model, the difference in what could happen is staggering. A standard 60/40ths portfolio, maybe it gets you to $4 million over 21 years. The S&P 500, okay, maybe 6 million. But the second you pivot to a Bitcoin strategy, the numbers just explode. 40 million with simple saving, 190 million with leverage, and get this, over $34 billion with a full business strategy. The takeaway here is undeniable. Your strategy matters a lot. So the baseline strategy, the one that's most accessible for pretty much everyone, is dollar cost averaging, or DCA. It's really simple. You work, you save, and you consistently convert a piece of those savings into Bitcoin over time. This approach is all about discipline, not about being a genius. It takes the stress and emotion out of trying to time the market. You just build your position methodically, piece by piece. So what about those crazier, higher numbers? Well, those more advanced strategies are all about one thing, compressing time. They use financial engineering, things like leverage to borrow capital, or corporate structures to issue equity, all to acquire more Bitcoin sooner. It's a strategic trade-off, right? You're taking on more complexity, more risk for the chance to accelerate that compounding process to get more exposure to the asset earlier in its adoption curve. Okay, but at this point, I know what you're thinking. The most common objection always comes up with the price having already gone up so much. Isn't it just too late to get started? Well, Saylor argues this whole question comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of what Bitcoin actually is. And his answer totally reframes the entire debate. He says people who are speculating, the ones who just see a stock ticker, they think it's too late. But technologists, the people who see a protocol, they know it's never too late. Think about it. Was it too late for Henry Ford to use fire? Is it too late for you to use the internet today? Of course not. Saylor's point is that Bitcoin isn't a stock you're supposed to time. It's a foundational technology that you adopt. The price is just a reflection of that adoption. It's not a barrier to it. So this all brings us to his big conclusion. If the opportunity is so clear, why hasn't everyone already jumped in? Saylor's answer is really counterintuitive. It's the volatility. And he frames this volatility not as a risk you should avoid, but as the very thing that creates the opportunity in the first place. He uses this classic blackjack analogy. Getting into Bitcoin now, he says, is like being dealt a king and an ace at the table. You have 21, the winning hand. In his view, the outcome is pretty much certain if you just have a long time horizon. So there's only one way you can possibly lose, and that's by folding your winning hand, by just refusing to play the game. And this is the final crucial insight. The very volatility that scares away all the big, slow, conventional money. That's what creates the opening for everyone else. He calls it Satoshi's gift to the faithful. That chaos, that gut-wrenching uncertainty, that is the price of admission for this generational opportunity. He says the day it becomes completely stable and predictable, the opportunity for life-changing wealth will be gone. So the question he really leaves us with is this. When you look at that chaos, do you see risk or do you see opportunity? If you found this information valuable, please hit that like button, share this video with fellow investors who might benefit, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analyses and market insights. We eagerly await your comments below. Let us know your thoughts and what topics you'd love for us to explore next.